Coming up this week, I'm back on the good list with TSA, at least with KCM. I marvel at the bravery of tourists in Paris. Like, is it really worth it? And I discuss step climbs. What are they? Why do we do them? And why we can't go to Flight Level 410 right away. All right, let's get started. And good afternoon. It is Friday, August 1st, 3:55 p.m. Headed to the airport, brand new month, and I'm still a line holder. Hello, my name is Darren. I'm a dad. I'm an airline pilot. I'm a husband of a scientist. And today I am going to parlez-vous français, Paris, France. I've been there one time before, last summer when I first brand new on the airplane. I had I think pretty sure it was an FO trip to Paris during the Olympics. And it wasn't very popular back then as a crew member because we were staying by the airport due to the Olympics. Now we're staying back at a normal hotel. So this will be a new trip for me per se, because I'm staying actually in real Paris versus out by the airport. Uh, my sign-in time is 4:40 p.m. I have a little bit of a late start leaving the house today. I was trying to process a video, which by now it's already been posted, about my July month in review, and it took longer to process than I wanted to wait. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, and I have a speech impediment, and so I work on my speech quite a bit, and I guess I also have a lot of saliva sound in my videos sometimes, and I thought it was my microphone or my filters. I went in this deep dive, and apparently it's just some people, like these audio engineers and do movies and stuff, say, "No, some people just make more saliva than others." I can try eating a green apple before I do audio, yada, 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 but if I can't, then I can run it through this special piece of software that can remove a lot of the saliva sounds. Most people probably can't hear it. I can hear it because I listen to my when I edit my videos, I listen to it on high quality headphones and it annoys me. So, anyways, too much information. Again, this is an FO trip. Originally, supposed to go to London. Actually, I'm supposed to go to Madrid for my bid award. But I traded into this Paris trip as the relief pilot. And then a couple days ago, the FO position opened up. I'm like, I'd rather be FO than FB personally, a relief pilot. So I traded into the flying pilot position instead. The captain I've flown with several times now. Hope he doesn't get annoyed by me. Flown with him on the Airbus and on the 777, a few times on each airplane. Super nice guy. He commutes out of Utah, I believe. The rest of the crew that I've never met for my life. I know the FB, the new relief pilot that took my old spot. He is out of base. I think he's LA based, and he picked it up out of base makeup. People always ask me if I can pick up trips from another base, and I can, but I can't pick it up easily until one day before departure. There's another way to do it, but it's more complicated. And I'm just not that advantageous. Maybe this pilot that's picked it up commutes from like somewhere closer. I don't know. He's senior to me either way. But good value of a trip. It's almost worth 20 hours. Maybe about 30 minutes more than a London trip would be worth. And again, I'm all about if I'm going to work, I want to work, work, work. I want credit, 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 credit. So the plane I'm looking at right now is coming in from Madrid. It's due in at 4 o'clock. So I'm betting that's the plane that's coming in right now. But easy trip. Oh my gosh, these big trucks. I hate when giant 18 wheelers all turn onto a road and they all get in different lanes, right? Like you're all heavy, go in the same lane. Anyways, and now you can't even stay in your lane. Easy trip, 3-day trip. And when I get back, I'm off for a long time because I dropped a lot of trips. Right now on my schedule for the month of August, I have 2 trips. I have this trip and I have a Madrid trip on the 18th of the month. Beyond that, I'm going to be freewheeling it the rest of the month, try to pick up here and there what I can. So let's head to the airport, park the car, head inside Terminal D, and get this trip started. All right. So the time of day makes a big difference in how full the buses are, how full the employee lot is, and everything else. This time of day, it wasn't too bad. Arrived at Terminal D, got my bags together, and almost every trip I do is an international trip. There's very few domestic trips I do. Like, there's might be in LA or Hawaii, but most part, I'm leaving the country, crossing an ocean every single week. So I always come out of these doors on the international terminal, Terminal D, at the end of every trip. Head upstairs and I always wonder how busy it's going to be. Today, it was really busy with all of the travelers, and the lines for TSA were crazy long. Some days, there's no line at all. Now, I do approach KCM, known crew member, as a service the TSA provides, let us get into the airport sometimes with less hassle. And it's totally random whether I get sent back to normal screening or I can go through. And today I got to go through. I've been very hit and miss. I did go downstairs to the crew room and get the magic folder and some paperwork and head over to gate D21. Now I'm flying with a captain I've flown with on two fleet types, both the Airbus and the 777. This is my third trip with him on the 777. On the Airbus, I flew with him a few times, including one time we had an engine failure on Christmas Day of 2019. I'll tell that story in the past. It was a interesting day. Again, this is a flying trip for me, so pilot flying, and I elected to fly over there. A few days ago, I was relief pilot for the trip, and I traded into the flying pilot for the trip. My relief pilot for this trip was actually a New York pilot who picked up this trip because it was easier for her to commute down, and it's more hours than her normal European trips from New York. So, got the FMS all loaded up, and if you want to see what a clearance looks like on the 777, well, that's what it looks like. It's from CPDLC. It's on my ND right now. Normally it's on the center screen, but it's a little bit easier to see on this screen here. But it's a very standard IFR clearance. For the non-pilots out there, it's just cleared as file to LFPG. That's the airport code for Paris via the Blico 8 departure. That's from DFW Airport. Tulsa transition. Then as filed, climb via the SID. Expect flight level 290 in 10 minutes after departure. Departure frequency, I see the SID, and that telling me here because it depends on the runway we're taking off of. And my squawk code for my transponder is 2304. Now, climb via the SID, that means they want us to make all of the crossing restrictions on the departure procedure. And again, the departure frequency depends on which runway we use, and that came a little bit of an issue on this flight. So again, we're doing the Blico 8 RNAV departure, and this is the departure procedure here. And you can see the line, it's like a map out of the airport. There's southern routes and there's northern routes. Now we're going to the north today, and the airport's divided in halves, the east side and the west side. On the east side, the first fix is Kuzin. On the west side, the first fix is Haskell. Now, that's why it's crucial to figure out what side of the airport you're taking off of for that very first fix. And yes, there have been incidents where the aircraft have taken off on, let's say, 35 left on this departure and have turned left toward Haskell after departure and supposed to go right toward Kuzin, and that could cause a big issue. So we want to make sure we have the right one loaded multiple times before we depart. Beyond that, it's a very standard on a departure. The blue text you see are altitudes, the magenta are speeds, and the black, of course, is the fix. It's pretty standard getting out of here. Making that first restriction, the Kuzin and Haskell can be a challenge. Thankfully, on this departure, it wasn't an issue. It's more of a challenge to the south for some reason than the north. We're gonna get runway 35 left initially because we're going towards Tulsa. On a taxi out, we got 36 right. That meant, as the first officer, I had to reprogram the FMS and verify we had the performance to take off on runway 36 right. Now, in DFW Airport, the both runways are almost identical. So it's not that big of an issue, and there's not much terrain around to worry about. But in some airports, a runway change could be a big issue for performance for flaps, thrust setting, and terrain clearance. Thankfully, in DFW, it's almost never an issue unless you're taking off on the three ones, which is very, very rare, but otherwise all good to go. And top left-hand corner of the screen, you can see all the frequencies we use. Again, it's 17 right, 18 right, and then to the north, they're all the same frequency. So that's not that big of an issue on this departure procedure. So yes, we left Terminal D and we're headed southbound until we got our new runway assignment, 36 right, not 35 left. So it's made this 9-degree turn right there. I was able to, in plenty of time, change the FMS, verify performance, verify the routing, and make the PA to the flight attendants for them to prepare for takeoff. We took off behind two other heavies that are also headed over to Europe. We were avoiding weather over southern Oklahoma, northeast Texas, that point on, very smooth flight for the most part. Whenever you look at Flight Radar 24 and you see black lines, that's areas of no ADS-B coverage. The software is just assuming where we are along that routing. So they don't have actual coverage. They're just getting other data to plot our course. But came in over Ireland and into France. And let's talk about the arrival and approach into Paris. We were doing the Lukip 9 Whiskey on our arrival. You can see it's for 26 left, right, and 27 left, right. That did connect to another transition to the runway. Now, it's not really to the runway. They gave us more of a radar vectors, and I prefer this over London. I think this was a much easier way to get into the airport versus just being told how many miles till touchdown and being vectored around the city. London, it is what it is. People that you're used to it are used to it. I just don't care for it. It's too ambiguous for me. Found the Mopar 1 whiskey, and it ends at Papa Golf 536. And from there, we get radar vectors. And that's kind of what they do in Dallas. And I think it's very predictable. As a pilot, I can see where I am, I can see where the airport is, and do my best to get down where I should be on the arrival. They were advertising the ILS 26 left approach, even though it was pretty much a VFR conditions. Almost everywhere I fly, we do some kind of approach into the airport, normally an ILS. And again, it's a very standard briefing strip. Nothing abnormal, I would say, on this approach versus a normal approach I do every single day in the United States. Didn't care to name any fixes. It's just DME readings, but that's fine. But yeah, I shot the LS2 Select approach into Paris, France. I did use flaps 30, auto brakes 2, and made a average landing again. I'll take average 8 a week, average landing on 26 left. And once we were clear, we were pretty close to the gate. So I landed, transferred the control over back to the captain. He taxied off of the runway, and we held short of 26 right, as that was the departure runway. We then cleared across 26 right, and we went straight over into the ramp controller and into gate Alpha 10. I then ran a final checklist. That's my job as first officer, and began packing up all my stuff. My little go bag, I carry my Nintendo Switch 2, my iPad mini, my MacBook Air, my Meta glasses. I'm using them right now. I just put them on after arrival. Chargers, headphones, spare cash, and snacks, all in a little bag. Now, this little sunshade is a pain in the rear to stow away from my seat. It has to go in a certain orientation. It can store 4 of them in there. I gave up and I just put it up here for the next first officer. It's blocking the wind and blocking the sun anyway. It's a pain to stow from my seat. But I gave my area a good once over, make sure I left nothing behind because, again, I've been in this seat for 10 hours, grabbed all my stuff, and head out the door. And so at this point, I realized I was flying the one world livery of the 777-200. I didn't see the outside of the airplane because I didn't do the walk around. That's what the FB, the relief pilot, does. So, like, oh well, I do the one world plane. Pretty neat. Head into the terminal, and it's a lot of walking and left and turn, right turn, left turn, right turn. Again, I follow flight attendants. They almost always know where they're going. They let us, thankfully, out to the curb, onto the bus, and we do have to drive into downtown Paris. Again, it's a pretty good drive, and, this day is a little bit of traffic, and I was quite surprised to see all these tourists out here trusting people's and their driving skills, standing in the middle of the road just to take a picture. Like, really? I don't know. I guess it's a thing. It's not my kinda thing. Listen, a few buses in Europe, they have, espresso makers on the bus. I've never seen anyone use it, but it's cool to see. I did get a little mini tour of Paris. Like, we went by quite a few landmarks on the way there. I took a selfie from the bus anyway, from the Arc de Triomphe. I'm probably saying it wrong. Arrived at the hotel right at 11:46 a.m. and checked in. Thankfully, our rooms were ready fairly quickly. And this is a pretty nice hotel room, much better than London, in my personal opinion. And I leave my keys in the jacket all the time. But first impressions: open the door, bright, big room for Paris. I've been here once before with my family downtown. We stayed actually near the Arc de Triomphe in a fairly big family room, but this is a very nice and bright room. Very functional. Has a mini fridge. All right, let's do the debrief. All right, so Paris took a while to get here. It's 11:58 a.m. in Paris, 4:58 a.m. in Dallas. It's a flight. It wasn't bad at all. My takeoff took off on 36 right, which hopefully I made a point of this. I was expecting to take off on 35 left. That's what I programmed. Actually, I programmed into the FMS. That's what I briefed. That's what we discussed. And then taxiing out, we got 36 right, which is a much shorter taxi. Uh, but I waited till we're on a nice straightaway to reprogram the FMS, verify the performance, verify that the departure frequency is the same, verify the legs were correct. And then we discussed it. And then we were able to go. I mean, if you're new on the plane, any plane, it could take a while. Thankfully, I'm proficient in getting that set up. Took off behind the flight 20 going to London. They were in the 300. Weather in North Texas, so we were nowhere near it, but they were vectoring us out to heading 340, I believe, for a while. Turning the autopilot on when I heard we're going in, like, the next 15 minutes, so around, like, 11,000 feet. I'm like, "Alright, autopilot's coming on." Uh, let's see. I had the second break, so the FB went back for her break, and, yeah, I was up front till just before we got our oceanic clearance, and then I went on my break, and I was ready to go on break. I was avoiding caffeine on purpose, and sorry, I hit the bunk, and I slept almost right away. Um, I had a little more than 2.5 hour on break, and I slept for a good 2 hours and 20 minutes of it easy. Yeah. Came back up front, kept on his break, and, the relief pilot wasn't very talkative. They are New York based. They picked this trip up, and they weren't chatty. It is what it is. The sun started coming up, which helps get some energy into me. Had my Red Bull, and, it was fine until we got into the French airspace, and their accents are very thick. Um, a little bit convoluted how they come in here. They have a star, then they have transition, and yada, yada, yada. And I kinda guessed what we were gonna get based on we're doing the L something word, 9 whiskey. So I figured we'll probably do the 1 whiskey transition to 26 left, not 27 right. 27 left is closed, and I guessed right. 26 left approach, winds were like 330 at like 15. So, like maybe a 10 knot crosswind component, nothing. 777 came in, and I think I made a pretty good landing actually. Very short taxi into the gate, and then just took a long time to get down to the hotel. We're in a great location. Great location. Very nice room. Makes London look like a freaking Motel 6 in Kansas. This is a very nice room. So, but now it's nap time. All right. So after my nap, I needed food for my food hole. Again, I'm not a big food person. I just want food. So I started walking around, and I noticed they had a lot of little places you can go in and get food. And one place had a lot of people inside. It was really small. And the other place was bigger and there was no one there. I'm like, I'll take the cramped space every time with locals because they probably know what they're doing. Great baguette, panini. Headed back to the hotel and because it was a little bit chilly outside. For me, anyway, it was 71 degrees on this day. All right, walking around. And I instantly regretted eating lunch so early because I came across this market area with a ton of food stalls and stuff to buy. Like lots of random food from my food hole. And I really wish I would have eaten here versus what I had. What I had was fine, it was filling, but I did see some pretty awesome looking food around here. And again, it's very hard for me to overeat anymore, so it's like, if I could, I would, and I do have another Paris trip in September, so if this place is still here, I will come here to eat versus eat where I ate on this trip anyway, but quick view of the area, and then I sat down and took a little break. So it's currently 3:58 PM, 8:58 AM in Dallas, and as you can tell, I am by the Eiffel Tower. Many, many years ago, my wife and I came here with my mother-in-law. That's how you know, you're a good part of the family when you take your, mother-in-law to Europe. I've taken my mother-in-law to Europe, I think, 4 times. Anyway, we came here, and I remember walking under the Eiffel Tower without having any kind of ticket, and apparently that has changed because now you need a ticket to even walk under the Eiffel Tower, is what it is. But I'm just gonna explore. I think I'm gonna walk to the and I butcher every I say that's not in pure English. Arc de Triomphe, about a mile away. Good steps, good exploring. And I am wearing jeans now because it is cold to me at 70 degrees. All right, let's go. Now, for whatever reason, Paris is empty this time of year. I'm told they all go on vacation because I walk between the Eiffel Tower and the Arc de Triomphe, and there was no one. Like the streets were a ghost town. Um, it is what it is. I was in search of a dessert. Again, I can't do dairy. I shouldn't do dairy. So I walked around and I kept looking for something that was a dessert place that didn't have dairy, right? And that's kind of hard. I ended up having to Google vegan desserts, and I saw a place. I'm like, I can just go to McDonald's. I'll go to McDonald's, And I got some McDonald's. I'm like, no, I should just go to the place. So I did find a place that had a wonderful, wonderful uh, strawberry dessert. It had no dairy at all. It hit the spot. I had that and a coffee, and then made my way back to the hotel. So I went for a walk, and I was going to go to McDonald's. I was and get a dessert, but it does. They don't have lactose-free options there, right? And I really wanted something that was sweet for the afternoon. So I Googled vegan stuff nearby, and I got lucky to find a place that actually had lactose-free desserts. It was expensive. It looked nice. There's a strawberry thing. It had coconut whipped cream and coconut whatever. There's no milk in it at all. So at least I might walk back. I won't get horribly sick to my stomach. But $18 though, right? $18. That hurts me. Anyways, it is now 5:30 in the afternoon. About a mile back to the hotel. So I'm gonna walk back and wrap it up for the day. Again, 24-hour overnight, but it's not really 24 hours. All right. And what I mean by that is, it's called 24-hour overnight. It takes a good 2 hours to and from the airport, just to be honest. By the time we go from the airplane to the hotel and hotel to the airplane is 2 hours each way. So that's 4 hours away. So now you have 20 hours. Now, I'm going to sleep at least 1.8 hours, right? Now you're down to 12 hours. I have to get ready, do my hair, ha ha ha, but all the normal stuff. All right. Call it 2 more hours. All right. Now you're down to 6 hours. 6 hours. That's how much time you have to really explore a city, in my personal opinion. Now, again, walking around Paris is very neat. I enjoyed it myself. And I love looking at all the cars. I swear it's like a car show. It is very funny, like when I'm in Italy and I see a Lamborghini, but to them, I'm sure it's like it's a Lamborghini. It's Italian. Here we are. But seeing so many awesome, beautiful cars. Yeah, they're gas, but I still appreciate them. But walked around. I did find a grocery store. It wasn't the best grocery store in the world, but I have since been told of where I should go instead. Found some grocery store. I found a grocery store, bought a few things, and head back to the hotel, and I was done for the day. And good morning. Almost van time. It's currently in the 7 a.m. hour here and the midnight hour in Texas, or in Dallas anyway. I had a decent night's rest. Not to my best. So I went shopping for groceries, came to the hotel. I did stop by and get a chicken paprika sandwich from a vendor. It was okay. Didn't eat a lot of it. I went to bed around 8 o'clock or so. Woke up around midnight. Called the family because it was 5 p.m. there. Talked to them for a bit. Went back to sleep around 1:30 in the morning, and then woke up at the appropriate time. I bought stuff for breakfast, and I always buy my orange juice, and it was very good. But I also bought some grapes that just were not that great. It could have been, I looked for a grocery store. In various countries, I can sometimes find a Walmart, Target style grocery store or a Tom Thumb, Kroger. Most of the time they're much smaller grocery stores. And I bought this lemon cake thing. It is not good. So I'm gonna have my backup breakfast, which I'm gonna show you what it is. It's an American candy bar. Until I get to the airport anyway, and then I'll find something else. I could have had time to go out and buy a egg something, but I didn't. So, and I've never been on hotel breakfast. This is over the years I've gotten down on hotel breakfast. But the good news is the plane is coming in from New York. Because we came in yesterday at 10 a.m. We leave today at 11 a.m. Well, you can't turn a 777 in an hour. An Airbus you could domestically, but yeah, the plane's coming in from New York. It's running a little bit late, but again, it should be at the gate right now. Actually, according to the last time I looked, it was let's see, refresh, and the plane just landed. So plenty of time for them to turn the airplane. We should be on time. Hopefully, we're on a gate and not on a hard stand. Longer flight back. I'll be on the last break, and yeah, I do have to, leaving Paris is similar to other parts in Europe where you have to take out your liquids out of your bag. So I'm preparing to pack up my bag and make sure all my liquids are in an easily accessible pouch to take out in security and all my electronics, which is always fun. Okay, let's pack up and head to the airport. The ride to the airport was pretty quick, but it got interesting at the very end of the ride. So these bus drivers they do amazing work in Europe, in my opinion. They drive these giant buses to these small cities. But we got to the airport and he slowed down because a service van was parked not correctly next to the airport terminal and there was no driver inside and he had to go forward. He couldn't back up. So we're driving by and yeah, we hit. We were like, ouch. But he kept going. It was a little dink, but it was a jolt, right? So we all unloaded. Of course, no one was injured at all. But then the police came because I guess a metro bus had come up and could not get by. And the driver I'm sure he ended up being ticketed or towed. And it's good to see these drivers in Europe are just as bad as drivers in America, parking where they shouldn't park. As far as getting through the terminal, it is pretty easy. Not as confusing as, say, Madrid is for flight crews, in my personal opinion. But, clearance security was fairly straightforward. It's it was okay. Almost all the crew keep asking each other when we're in line, "Hey, is this a place we have to take out liquids and electronics or just electronics or just liquids?" Yeah, everywhere we go is different, even sometimes in the same country, like Italy. Various airports have various rules on what we have to take out, what we can leave in, but cleared security, and we had extra time because we got here super early because there was no traffic getting to the airport, and I wanted breakfast. And unfortunately, I went to the right and not to the left after leaving duty free, and I got McDonald's. It was just fine. Like, I just wanted coffee, and I got an double espresso. That's all it was, just double espresso. I should have got Americano, but I didn't. And then walking to the terminal, I passed Starbucks, and I said I should have gone to Starbucks because at least Starbucks is consistent and easy and has my hot brown bean juice. But walked down to the airplane. Again, we were super early, so we have plenty of time. And it was a very nice day in Paris. One thing of note, lots of European airports limit our usage of the APU. The APU is our auxiliary power unit. It makes power and air, so power for the airplane and air for the air conditioning and starting the engines as well. Um, so we couldn't start the APU right away. So the cabin was a little bit warm, and we had to get permission to actually start the APU. So a little bit warm getting the flight deck ready. Now, one thing of note, like of different bases, and you'll notice this in a future video, in Dallas, we use two trash bags, one on each outboard armrest. That's just how we do it. Long flight, lots of trash. Other bases like New York, they only have one trash bag. It's a difference between bases, and it makes a difference because my muscle memory is to put my trash with my right hand to the right outboard and the FO seat and left in the captain seat while I'm the relief pilot. But open the window to get some fresh air and starting setting up the flight for the flight to Dallas. Now, leaving Paris was a battle of frustration. They are doing construction on one of the runways, so they're down to three runways. Beautiful day, no weather, no big issues, no strikes of any kind that I knew of, but it took forever to leave, and it was a introduction to acronyms: SOBT, TOBT, TSAT, TTOT, CTOT. Uh, we were ready to go on time. We were delayed like 24 minutes just because of stuff. And I did have 2 or 3 different air traffic controllers in France reach out to me to explain it to me. I still don't like it. I don't like that if we are ready on time, that we can't push back and leave on time. My understanding is in Europe, they don't want you sitting on taxiways, burning gas in line for takeoff. They don't want you to leave the gate until you can push back, start the engine to taxi out and take off. I get it, but it's frustrating that if we are ready on time, why can't you be ready on time? It is what it is. It's fine, I guess. But oh my gosh, I was looking at the screen, and I can't show you the other screens because I put my cameras away, but they kept changing at various times and calling, and it was so confusing that they even had a guide printed out for us. I tried to find it online 'cause I can't show you anything that's handed to me unless I can find it online publicly, and I can't find it online anywhere. But a guide to leaving Paris on when to call, who to call, how to call, what to say. London, you are better than Paris. And I'm sorry, I said it. London is better than Paris. Okay, we finally did leave though. All right. So the Boeing 777-200 can go up to level 410, that's 41,000 feet. But it's rare we go all the way up there because of weight and weather. Many times we start much lower and slowly go higher as we go along our way to our destination. So right here at level 320, and you can see my step climb on the top right hand corner says level 330. I can go there in 296 more nautical miles. And also look at my ETA at DFW at 1954 Zulu and our fuel, 45,000 pounds of fuel of arrival. If I change the step increment to RBSM versus every 1,000 feet, that's then I go to what, 340 and over 1,000 nautical miles from now. And I have a little bit less fuel at DFW. Now, if I go to ICAO standards, well, I go probably with 360 and even further down the road and even less fuel at DFW. Now, this is a flight sim. In reality, we always update our winds because the winds change over 10 hours or so, but it's always estimating how we're going to be. And now this is a zero step climb increment, meaning I'm saying level 320 for the entire time, much later ETA, and even less fuel. This is a very quick example of step climbs. We often step climb because, again, we're too heavy or the actual air temperature and conditions aren't suitable for us to climb higher at that given moment. Of my 6 type ratings, I only have one that can fly up to its maximum certificated altitude right away every single flight, and that was the Embraer 145. Every other aircraft I've ever flown can rarely go up to its flight level, max flight level on every flight right away. All right, back to flying to Dallas Fort Worth. The flight back was fairly standard. One of my awesome flight attendants insisted on making me an espresso. I've been on this plane for over a year. I've never had an espresso on board, but she's like, no, 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 you have espresso. So she made me a double espresso, and it was fantastic. Especially true as I didn't get much rest during my rest break because they hit some pretty good turbulence during my break. I was like a popcorn kernel popping around in a pan in the crew bunk. I did get an extended break because my end of my break is predicated on our ETA to DFW, and it got delayed. I thought we were gonna have to go ahead and head it to an alternate. 'Cause we had a few alternates, but thankfully we got in just in time. And someone said we were delayed in Paris because of the weather in Dallas. Absolutely not true. That weather was 11 hours away. They don't delay in Paris for weather in Dallas. No US controllers told me that even happens. So, whatever. Got to Dallas, cleared customs, headed outside, survived the crazy employee bus, found my car, which is always a good thing because, again, that's been up for a long time. And now for the debrief. Woo! All right, 3:45 in the afternoon. Got home a little bit late, but we are in DFW and not Austin, San Antonio, Oklahoma City, Houston, places that we could have diverted to. Um, you know, having the last break on a long flight, it's a double-edged sword. I feel pretty good right now, but man, was I ready for break. Um, and I was talking to the captain because, again, me and him have flown together a lot now. I think I've flown with him on the 777 more than any other captain I've flown with. My third trip with him, in a short time span. We're talking about FB, FO, FC kind of thing. He's like, well, all he ever knows is captain, right? All he ever gets is second or third break. He never gets first break, and he never did FO on the 777 before he bid 777. So it's all foreign to him. Like, yeah, I don't think I could do FB. I went, well, FB relief pilot. Yeah, it's takes the right kind of person to be able to show up at work just enough to function because you're going to bed right away. So it does take practice and understanding your body to be able to function as a crew member, but then go to bed right away. But leaving Paris was fine. The van ride from the hotel was much shorter than the van ride to the hotel. Clearing security was not a big deal. Nice to London. I should not have gone to McDonald's. That was a mistake. And then I will say, London air traffic control and ground operations are better than Paris. The TSAT was just ridiculous that we were on time, clear day, scheduled flight, and we had to wait. Initially, we were told to wait like 40 minutes, then 29 minutes after our scheduled departure time to get off the gate. Because we have a TOBT time. Well, that's target off block time, right? But you can't really start the engines. I mean, we could have asked, like they would let us start the engines but not move. So what's the point of that? What's the point of a TOBT if you can't really go anywhere? That makes no sense to me. Maybe someone else can explain it to me better. But TOBT, started off block time, but our TSAT was way later. So what's the point of having TOBT that's much later than the TSAT time because we can't do anything. But got off the gate, fairly easy taxi to the runway. What else? Yeah, we departed just fine eventually, climbed up, and yeah, it's hopefully I mentioned this, but getting our oceanic clearance leaving Europe is the old-fashioned way, which I find better than the new way. Um, so anyway, got our clearance over, um, and I was flight monitoring, so I was doing all the paperwork and logging all our waypoints and our fuel and the wind and the weather and then yada yada yada. I didn't go on break till after we were already into Canada. So, and it was a smooth ride across the entire Atlantic Ocean until my break time. And then, man, um, in the rest area, in my bunk, we have seatbelts for the bed, right? Like, it's just one big belt across your midsection. And whenever it's bumpy, I put it on, and I'm glad I put it on because I felt like a popcorn kernel being cooked on a pan thing. It was just moderate turbulence, but man, it was moderate turbulence. So I got my almost 3-hour break. I got maybe an hour nap because it was just turbulence the whole time. But it is what it is. Toward the end of my break, I woke up and I opened up the airline app, and you might not know this, but if you have the airline app on my airline, you're able to use the Wi-Fi with the airline app for free. So I checked on our ETA, and I saw our ETA was way past our normal time. I'm like, yeah, I guess they got a reroute. And at first it was really, really bad, and then it got better. Thankfully, we weren't super early because I know at least Amsterdam diverted, and then several other domestic flights diverted. If we had diverted, we would have been dead in the water for our due duty day time. So thankfully, we didn't have to divert. Um, Came in for 1A right. The captain greased it onto the runway, and we got to the gate D29, which normally we get marshaled in, but we pulled up and we were well short of the gate, and they wanted to tow us in. So add a few minutes is what it is. And also, of course, my relief pilot, she was ready to commute home, and initially she was having a very tight commute, but with the weather, she made her commute just fine. So there's that. But headed home. I'm not exhausted right now, but I'm still not gonna drive my kids around. Or so I watch my video after a red eye or a overseas flight. I don't drive my kids around, make any big financial decisions, or use any power tools. But fairly easy flight, and I will send it over to Darren to wrap it all up. So Paris was Paris, and it's fine. It's different than Dallas, different than London, different than Madrid, different than Barcelona. Some people think Paris is amazingly well orchestrated. I think it's frustrating. But again, people think Dallas is frustrating. I think Dallas runs fairly well on most days. Charlotte is always a dumpster fire, in my opinion. Now, we left Dallas on the first leg a few minutes late. We left to Paris a few minutes late. But when we left Paris, we left on time because we were done boarding, closed the door, the ground crew was connected. We were able to drop the parking brake, but then we couldn't move for 20-some-odd minutes, right? So, and actually, we actually put in a delay code that had our clock started when we were actually ready to go. So, again, it is what it is. It's fine. Now, because of the reroute that happened well over U.S. mainland when I was in the bunk, we were delayed coming into Dallas, right? So we did get in 3:09 p.m. versus the schedule 2:35 p.m. So that did add to my block time, right? So my total hourly pay was 20 hours and 40 minutes for a total of $62.93.83. My international pay was $103.33, something we do here. My per diem was $191.29, and my full 1K contribution from my airline was $1,069.95. Speaking of 401k, as of the recording of this video, I have now exceeded both my employee contribution and my employer contribution per the IRS guidelines. Meaning, from this day forward, on my actually on my next pay statement coming out in a couple of days, all that 17% of my pay will be coming into given to me as cash versus because it can't go into my 401k anymore. I use a Roth 401k. So all that money will come into me in cash. It'll be like a bonus pay now for the rest of the year. I will be taking that money and putting it into some other investment opportunity. I don't know what I'm going to do with it because I don't live paycheck to paycheck. I'm not bragging, but most of the money I get, I say 3/4 of my paycheck, this goes into a high yield savings account every month. We live very simply in my household. Again, my time away from base salary was 46 hours and 59 minutes. My name is Darren. I'm a dad. I'm an airline pilot. I am a husband of a scientist. Most of you are not subscribed. You're not. I appreciate your support. You guys watch my videos every single week. Just click subscribe. If you look, just go right there, right there. Just click the subscribe button. It costs you no money. It's free. It helps me a whole bunch. Have a great day. And as always, thank you for stopping by.